Previously on Going Public.
Together, we can be one of the biggest companies in Australia.
A group of Apple computer dealers got excited about merging their shops and listing on the stock exchange.
I think they're going to float this business for $100 million.
The cutthroat competitors got to know each other a little better.
I'm affectionately known as the smiling assassin.
Some would say he's out there, he's psycho, aggressive.
And I never ever accept losing.
The search for a new company name continued.
Every name that's come up pretty much so far has been from us.
It was a process that we contracted with you to go through, and that process hasn't happened.
And ultimately, if we pay $5,000 for that, I'm happy. Because to pay 50 is an absolute shitload.
And the deal went to the brink of disaster.
This deal can occur with an expert or without expert.
It's just all of a sudden greed's become the prime motivator.
They've held everybody to ransom.
All the little agendas are starting to surface and we want them out on the table.
Take it to head then. Get them out of the whole deal. That'll make them real happy.
The shopkeepers aim to deliver themselves to the stock market by November 2000. It's now August and the partners are regrouping just days after facing two potential deal breakers. The first was the sudden departure of the NextBite team.
Touristing, and I found it really...
Our impression from speaking to a number of the principals and hearing what their staff had to say was that in some ways people are actually happier going forward than the position previously.
And I probably had 20 phone calls and half a dozen emails from people saying, this is great, we now feel much more comfortable.
The second blow was the multi-million-dollar hole discovered in the business of this owner, Scott Thompson. That problem was solved when a new investor, Wing Lu, paid the debt and picked up Scott's company. The deal is back on track, and for Scott, things have gone better than he planned. He is still with the group as a senior employee.
I was enormously pleased to have achieved the strategy that I went in with. And I got my strategy out of the way before anyone else. It was a win-win-win. I now had a good job. I had sold Max Place and I had freed myself of any financial obligations of the new Apple reseller merge group going forward.
Look, I said to Scott in a discussion that we had, look, I don't know whether to be appalled or to applaud you.
The group is still looking for that elusive company name.
Lights off.
The last hope, Rev, turned out to be a brand of milk. So the experts from Love have decided to think a little different.
And what always happens is my computer goes to sleep for a moment. Well, if I'd only met you guys before I'd bought this. Here we go. You know, the modern brand is actually just establishing a framework for an experience the consumer's going to have. We want people to say, gee, that sounds like an exciting place to go and play. Our name better feel like a magical, wondrous, exciting place to go. So with that spirit of kind of perhaps trying to get beyond what's another word that means accelerate, another word means dream, we kind of just try to push ourselves almost into an exciting place to go or the benefit of that. And so with that feeling, we introduce these names. Spark Park? Where are you going? I'm going to Spark Park. Lolly Shop? You know, the joy and the wonders of childhood, you know, like, you know, when you see a bowl of jelly beans on the table, and isn't it wonderful, all those magical colours. And Surgent? This was one where we just say, let's just invent a word. What about Cloud 99? How do you feel? I'm on Cloud 99. Oh, and where are you going this afternoon? I'm going to go and clock into cloud99.com. In your dreams. And I say exactly. Because when you stop dreaming, you stop living. Buzzle. I mean, we just invented a word. Rolls off the tongues, fast, easy. Where do you work? I work at Buzzle.
When something has a buzz about it, it's where things are happening.
Oh, yeah, that's the word.
You know, it's where it's all happening here. I can imagine 800 stores called Buzzle, you know, in America and Australia and Europe. You can totally see it.
Buzzle doesn't mean a damn thing. It's all ours. We can really own that whole word, that whole buzz, the whole vibe. Buzzle is the best word I've heard in the entire process.
If you're looking for total standout, I mean, you know, it's like We invented Buzzle. It's a total invention of ours. And
in all the names we've done, which is hundreds and hundreds, I've never said to you, I'm absolutely certain that that's the right name. But Buzzle, I just know it's for you know, having seen billions of corporations, you know, over 17 years of marketing, I just am certain that that can manifest into from a branding perspective, into a company that, you know, where everybody goes, that's a good name. You know, that's got a good feel about it. That makes me feel warm towards it. That feels like there's something happening. You know, it's got so many things.
I'd like to move a motion that we adopt the name of Buzzle as being our name as we move forward. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you.
Done.
all right. Well, hey. Well, that was a Buzzle, wasn't it?
Now to really get you.
The others were happy with it, so we're under a lot of pressure too to actually settle on a name so that all the legal paperwork and everything could proceed. I think when everybody just settled on a name, this is great. That's one less thing. Let's move on.
With the merger just days away, the partners are coming face to face with their legal and financial commitment.
Yeah, that's it.
And certainly if there was default and the wheels fell off entirely, Apple's got to go through legal process to enforce their guarantees against you.
A lawyer for the group drives home the brutal reality.
If Buzzle went into liquidation and there was a shortfall, that's when Apple would come looking for you. They're actually asking you to provide what we call a separate covenant, an obligation. You'll indemnify Apple against any loss that it may suffer. As was raised before, if for some reason Buzzle Operations was actually liquidated and ceased to exist as a legal entity, your liability doesn't stop there. Your liability will continue until Apple is fully discharged of any debts it may have. It actually also entitles Apple to ultimately look to your individual estates should one of you get hit by the proverbial bus. They will come at you from beyond the grave.
Now all that remains between 6 individual businesses and a merged Buzzle is a little paperwork. For the owners, September 13, 2000 is the point of no return. From tonight, their fortunes will be tied together in the biggest gamble of their lives. In a company with $160 million turnover, profits and losses can be measured in the tens of millions.
15 mil, that's not much. 15 mil. Petty cash to some. It's all monopoly money.
And design-wise, I wish I had your bill.
But first, there's the matter of settling the old company's debts.
So how much are you going to be short with your, you've got debtors? Around $1 million. So we have to come up with $1 million cash unless we get it from debtors and other stock. Is there anywhere else I can get money from? That's it, Tooth Fairy, okay, Tooth Fairy.
10 o'clock at night, we're now in a bit of a stalemate, and Arthur Anderson have kindly rolled in all the food to keep us...
to tame the savage beast.
Tame the savage beast until hopefully we can reach some resolution tonight, but it's not looking very hopeful.
For now, it's a waiting game. The Apple executive needed to OK last-minute changes is at a pre-Sydney Olympics event and can't be reached.
Always, when you're about to sign a deal, there's last-minute changes. You have to have somebody there with some authority who can say, oh, that needs to be corrected, go off and do that right now. So the chief financial officer from Apple should have been there, but it was the dress rehearsal for the opening ceremonies for the Olympics, and he had tickets. So he sent along some junior employees to do the deal. But without anybody there, able to make any kind of decisions, I just thought, oh, it's never going to happen tonight.
Drive safely, Craig.
Well, so be happy, it's all right. I'm talking to my wife, who I love dearly. I said, why are you in such a bad mood? She says, I just don't want to be reminded of the deal. She said, I'm all right. I said, oh, that's good.
How much is all this costing us? It's probably about $1,000 an hour at the moment.
Just think about who you're going to be with at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're tired and grouchy and you just want to be out of there because they're the people that you're going to be doing business with.
I understand that we're getting closer, but it's been a long night. The Coke ran out about 3 hours ago. The food ran out about 5 hours ago. The company is good though.
The Apple executive has phoned in. The logjam is cleared. The owners are about to become the shareholders of a very big company.
They'll sign anything, agree to anything, just get me out of here. This makes me personally alive, does it? Is that right?
That's fine. There was something we actually got to
Puzzle is being born. Cheers.
One, two,
After weeks of intensive work to find a company name the group is happy with, Love is now giving the directors their first peek at Buzzle's new look.
And this is it. The back of the page you stand is going to look really cool. It's going to be like this. Your business cards, we suggest vertical format. And later on, when we want to bring some life a couple of years down the track to potentially how we do other, we represent the company graphically, here's how it works in different colours. That could be Buzzle Corporate, for instance, we thought. That could be Buzzle Education.
There's no space around it. You have, the B's not defined because there's no white around it. It's a different look to everything else.
I think it looks much nicer looking. I'm not going to argue with horizontal either.
I don't want people again in a few days' time saying, I wish we should have done that, you know. Sorry, I didn't mean, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying that it invariably happens that we make a decision and then we vacillate about it.
All those in favour of vertical, hands up.
You guys don't get a vote.
No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I get 2 votes.
Yeah. All those in favour of horizontal, hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Horizontal carries.
Okay.
Our staff loathed it and they thought we'd taken leave of our senses. They were like, the next thing they're going to have is wearing green skivvies and singing along.
Cool, Wiggles.
Like the Wiggles, yeah.
Buzzle Professional Design-wise, Gay speaking.
Buzzle Professional Design-wise, Michelle speaking.
Matthew.
The Buzzle staff have a lot to get used to, apart from their company name. A new accounting system is being introduced across the 32 stores, and it's causing consternation on the shop floor.
Excellent. And then it all works, and then we can just go home at the end of the day and not worry about not working tomorrow? That's it. Excellent. This is really good. This is a great system, this make-believe system that we have.
Everyone wants a bit of it, but is it really there? Can we get there?
The new accounting system was chosen when the NextByte team was still in the group.
Ivis, can you ring GM Computers and tell them to share the spirit? Share the connection? Let us have a go.
That's right, yes.
After being customised for them, the system was working well in NextByte's shops. But when the NextByte partners pulled out, they took their custom version with them, leaving a plain vanilla one behind.
Code was taken out of the operating system and we started with a vanilla system again. It says, we'll build it as we go. Well, it's impossible to build it as you go in that time frame and debug it and have it operational.
As well, problems in the communication network means that electronic contact between the 32 shops is slow, intermittent, or non-existent.
Basically, the network has been a nightmare this week. We couldn't get the network running correctly because we've had to have temporary networks installed all over the country and not enough time to actually get them working properly. So this week's been a lot of patching up things, making sure things work, trying to get things done a little too quickly. We've had phone calls, we've had abuse, we've had everything. And it's interesting just having so many new people calling up, and it'll be a good team once we get to know them.
Yeah.
Hey, you got it.
Well, going from a very sophisticated operating system where we could track everything and get reports on anything within a very short time to being told, well, everybody's manually invoicing. And of course, the girls that were trying to process those manual invoices couldn't read the handwriting in the majority of instances.
Now, there's guys there who are professional salespeople screaming and throwing things against the wall because they couldn't get a docket out of the system. Salesmen are pretty temperamental people, good salesmen particularly, because they need to achieve. And to be thwarted and not be able to achieve is a very frustrating event. And we lost a lot of good staff, unfortunately, and those people left us because of the frustration level that was being generated.
To add to the system woes, retail shops around the country are empty. The cash flow, critical to a low-margin business like Buzzle, has dried up.
We merged in September, not one of the busiest months of the year, but this was made much worse by a whole lot of factors that all happened at once. In fact, we got hit by the perfect storm. We had a short-term economic vacuum caused by the GST, where everyone stopped spending. We had the Sydney Olympics open the day after we merged, so the entire nation took their eyes off everything except athletics. Add to that, Apple's new release products for that period were not the best products we'd ever seen. Cube, dud. G4 dual processor, dud. New colours for the iMacs, dud.
By the beginning of October, any hope of floating in the proposed month of November is gone. The directors need to get their shops in order before float preparations can continue. The big day is deferred until February 2001.
So you couldn't actually go to the market and say, well, here's our first 3 months' results. Aren't they great? Let's float. Because we couldn't even measure the first 3 months' results.
It was just annoying people when I said, why isn't this happening in sales? Why isn't that happening in marketing? Why isn't this happening in preparing the business plan? So I thought, okay, I'll go focus on something that can add value, you know, beyond the box.
An opportunity for Craig Rispin to raise Buzzle's profile as a new technology company presents itself in the form of the Australian Film Institute Awards. The network broadcasting the event is also experimenting with an internet angle.
Guy Pearce in Australia for work? No, are you working at the moment? I live here. I know that. I get to come home, you know.
With Craig's expertise and some Buzzle resources, edited highlights of the red carpet interviews are available to view on the broadcaster's website just minutes after being shot.
At the AFI Awards, the broadcaster had a camera crew on the red carpet. And they're running tapes into a room where we would compress it and we would send it back over a high-speed internet line back to the broadcaster.
Ultimately, of course, new media is going to be where it's at too, but I also think that the internet...
And then they would compress it for streaming across the internet on the broadcaster's website.
Craig hopes demonstrations like this will lead to million-dollar contracts with the networks, even if the viewers logged on tonight are few.
I think we had a massive number of a total of 6. But that didn't matter. It was a technology test. And the technology worked great.
But the promise of big deals is putting pressure on Craig back at cash-starved Buzzle.
I'd come back to Sussex Street and get asked every day, have you closed that $1 million deal yet? I said to him, this is not going to happen next week. And if you think it's got anything to do with the future of this company, forget it. It's not going to happen until well after when you need it. Go out and solve your problems some other way.
The directors have been searching for someone who can solve their problems. Someone who can get Buzzle down to business and ready it for the cold glare of investor scrutiny come float time. Tonight, the staff are meeting their new Chief Executive Officer, Thomas Qureshi.
I must thank each of you to be out here, for making the effort to be here. We are sitting at a point where we stand, and we will indeed, to become the #1 company of its type in Australia and beyond, in the region indeed. An organization that our competitors fear immensely. I'm an absolute believer that we will succeed. Some time back, I came across a very interesting book. It was called The Black Belt of Management. There was a very interesting chapter in it, and at the beginning of the chapter, there was a quotation from a samurai warrior, and his philosophy was, before the struggle, victory is mine. And that is the only message I want each of you to carry in the back of your head. Tomorrow belongs to Buzzle. Thank you very much.
It's basically been what the doctor ordered. It's very inspirational. We've been working very hard on some of those aspects, and fantastic. So we always had that. It's just a question of, harnessing all those internal energies. It's actually a little bit like having a wife. You're usually the one that's the boss until you put your foot down.
It's December, but the holiday season isn't festive at Buzzle. The last 6 months have been disastrous for most retailers, but it's been especially costly for this prospective public company. The investors won't want to hear a hard luck story. Keeping their eyes on the prize and a smile on their face, the directors sit for prospectus photos.
Personality, in other words. That's it.
The stock market listing may be looking more remote every day, but they want to be ready for it just in case.
Fits around the tummy.
That's it. And again, you can borrow my tie.
Absolutely not that particular tie.
Chief Executive Officer Qureshi has had 6 weeks to come to terms with Buzzle.
Okay, share price just went through the roof.
One's bent up again, right?
Yeah, here you go.
What he is about to say will wipe the smiles from all the directors' faces.
Thanks very much. Thanks a lot, Russell.
I need to tell you some brutal facts of life as to what is going to happen, and there's some plans that I have which I'd like your input in, and of course for you to understand and appreciate and question if you think that, good heavens, what's this stuff Thomas is smoking, and we need some of it too, because it's good. And today, if I'm not my normal jovial self, and I'm not out there preaching that the meek shall inherit the earth, it's because after what I've heard, some of the things and the way they've been presented to us, the last thing you want Apple to sit there and tell us, listen, half the people in this game saw this as an exit strategy anyway. How real are these people to have committed towards the business? And by the way, half these people couldn't manage their own businesses anyway. If they hadn't done this, they were history. We cannot go to the market and say, hey, we've got this fantastic company. We're turning over $250 million. We're amazing. And by the way, we're spending $248 million to turn over 250. How many people are rushing over to say, hey, you're financially sound? How many banks are falling over themselves, quote unquote? Well, if they are, guys, they're not ringing me. There needs to be a reality check. We need to backpedal. We've got shops that don't make money. We have to make a business that makes money because we want people to invest in this business. We are not doing a good job. Apple's estimate is we've lost 2 to 2.4 million in the last 3 months. I'm sitting here thinking, how can some of us take the salary packages home that we're taking home? How? You've gone out there and given yourselves nice princely little pay package because you were part of a big company, because some supercilious HR person told you, this is the industry standard. Standard of what? A company that's technically insolvent? I can tell you now, everybody's salary package is gone as it was, effective 1st of January. The only fixed salary the company will pay, maximum limit, will be $80K to every manager around this room. Now, if any of you want to think of it as an exit strategy and a quick one, float in November and do it, I'm sorry. We're not ready to go anywhere near a float. Hello. The most ambitious thing I could do, and if I worked twice as hard and drove you guys like a Trojan, would be probably July. Thank you. Have a good Christmas party. All this is because I believe we will get there. I absolutely believe, and I hope you share that. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Next week on Going Public.
You can go now, mate.
The directors have their backs to the wall.
Holding this meeting offsite to contain any possibility of leakage or, the wrong people hearing what's going on.
It's crunch time for Buzzle.
What do? Do we close the shop and just sit around? Do we go home because we're not going to get paid next weekend?
Now I have a little thing for you. Green Buzzle. Thank you. We'll make one for you, George. Sorry about that. I'll see if I can find it. Because Glen's informed us that you're vegetarian. No animal products.
I think we better
I guess we find their names.
Take a seat where you choose. Buzzle frog, green buzzle frog.
I think we should get Stephen